Hey gang, welcome. Thank you for joining me again today for my second watercolor sketch of the morning. And I have struck it rich on this one, I tell you. Wow. Sometimes good things come to those who knock. Once ask, seek, knock, all right? Something like that. Oh my goodness. So I went driving around on the island looking for a fresh view of the iconic structure on the island is the lighthouse, which I'll show you here shortly, just a second. I believe it's the oldest functioning lighthouse in North Carolina, a couple hundred years old, roughly, something like that. I don't remember exactly, but it's old. Oh, and I just noticed there are no windows on this side. Well, we're going to cheat. I'm going to put windows on this side of the lighthouse. Okay, let me pick you up. There we go. There's the Ocracoke Lighthouse. Not very tall, as you can see. I think it's brick, I believe, painted, cemented over brick. And let me get you zeroed in a little bit on my paper. So I went driving around. I've painted this lighthouse probably 6 times, maybe, over the years by now. But you know the way you do. Just like, come on, let's see if there's another view. So I do what I often do. If you're an artist, you put on your trespassing shoes, so to speak. A trespassing sign means if you're an ordinary person, stay out. If you're an artist and you've come in here and break your arm, you can't sue us. So that's and I go, deal. Driving some of you crazy. So if I break my arm trespassing on your property, I will not sue you. That's my guarantee. Anyway, pulled up, walked around a house, into a driveway, car sitting in the driveway, man sitting in the car. I bowed in a, the way I would, mildly humorous gesture of greeting, and walked up and said, hello, my name's, no, I didn't say, I said, I'm one of those crazy artists. Anyway, here's one thing I didn't tell you about this, my buddy Mike and I have been coming to Ocracoke, I think it's for 8 years now, every year. And we've made friends with a lot of people, one of whom is the editor of the little local community newspaper rag, So Peter is our good buddy, the newspaper editor. And so every year he puts we're right on the front page, artists coming to Ocracoke. Porch sale on Friday. So that's wonderful because a bunch of people know we're here. So that is really just delightful. So the man says, oh, I was looking for you guys. That's what he said. Oh, I was hoping I would run into you guys. I went looking for you guys yesterday. Isn't that amazing? So his name's Bill. And he brings me around to the back of his house. And I already showed you the view. He's got like, doggone it, he's got the best view on the island of this lighthouse. And he says, yeah, he takes you up on the porch. Yeah, you can come up here. Anyways, so I am sitting on a man's back porch in the shade. Oh my goodness, I tell you, it doesn't get any better than that. I'm rather blown away, as you can probably tell. It's like, what? What? Are you kidding me? Oh my goodness. So, hallelujah. There is a God. Hey, let's talk art for just a minute. So as you can see, I don't have any masking tape on this drawing. I have a pretty firm habit when I am draw watercolor, charcoal, paper drawing, anything that's drawing medium, graphite, I habitually, that has a naughty word in it, doesn't it? I habitually, that was a naughty word at my house. We didn't raise dogs. If you raise dogs, it's not a naughty word. It's like if you grow up on a dairy farm, shit is not a naughty word, because that's what you're shoveling with your shovel every day. And I learned that from my farmer friends in college. What? That's not a naughty word? No. Anyway, sorry. I habitually draw a border, a frame, before I start drawing. And I recommend this very highly for two reasons. One is I'm already employing. One is, believe it or not, when you sit down to draw on a piece of blank paper, most people don't think. Let me make sure this line is actually parallel to the top of the paper. Most people actually don't think about the edge of the paper as being an element in their composition, but it very much is. There's four, when you sit down to draw on a piece of paper, you already have four, if it's square or rectangle, you already have four lines. That's the beginning of your composition, okay? But most people don't think about it. They are blind. It doesn't process, it doesn't enter their conscious mind. Oh, wait a minute. I have four lines already in my composition before I make my first line. All right, so the one remedy for that is, before you start drawing, draw four lines. Now, boom, now everybody's aware of the compositional elements of those lines. Does that make sense? So that's one reason for doing it. The other reason for doing it, ironically, because this doesn't always come into play, but it is today, what that does, it gives you a little bit of fudge room, a little bit of cheating room. If you're drawing a horse, and then all of a sudden you find the horse's tail is going outside your border, guess what? You have a little bit of cheating room. So that's exactly what I did here. The top of my lighthouse. Hang on, now to make sure this lighthouse is actually vertical here. The top of my lighthouse went just a little bit, it grew taller than I expected. And so voila, I cheat. So now I've got a double border. I'm going to ignore it'll still show, but I'm going to ignore the inner one. And my drawing's not going to go up there. See? So that's a really good reason, in my opinion. That's a really good reason for making this a habit. Make this your habitual habit, and you can use that naughty word too. Sorry. Being very adolescent, I realize that. Don't bug me, I'm being a kid. All right, I think I did pencil in the last one. It was okay. I'm going to try to use, I wish I had a 0.5, one of these, but I don't. 0.3, so I'm just going to bear down a little bit hard, kind of ruin the point, if you will, of this particular pen. And my first drawings, as you probably know, were rendered with watercolor pencil, okay? I used two colors on this one, orange and fuchsia. Cool red, magenta, something like that, all right? And now I'm using a waterproof, fine point, acid-free, blah, blah, blah pen. Now, I say this every time I use one of these, or I talk about it. When you buy one of these pens that says they're waterproof, don't believe the label necessarily. You have to test it. And if your art store like mine, has a little sketch pad right there by the display where you can make a mark, make the mark and then, spit on your thumb and then rub it, because not all, I don't know what waterproof means in other languages, but evidently it doesn't mean the same thing in every language, because there are several products out there who say they're waterproof and they're not. And you can ask me how I learned that. That would be the hard way, right? By the way, I am using, with this pen, as you can see, I'm definitely using the drawer grip, control grip, right? I'm not doing it this way because it's such a fine point. So, and yes, I will draw the border. By the way, I am indeed giving you, whether you're paying attention or not, I'm giving you a clinic, a class, a lesson, demonstration on how to draw straight lines without a ruler, right? Do it like this. I did the same thing, had these spastic marks, even on in the drawing itself. I often, when I'm doing this watercolor pencil technique, I will often do 3 drawings. Each one becomes more accurate, more tight, more precise than the one before. The main reason I'm not doing 3 this time is because the drawing is, as you can see, it's so simple. Again, compared to what I was doing, an hour ago with the Okakoke Seafood Company. It had so much busyness and information, you could hardly knew where to start. All right, by the way, now I'm giving you a clinic on how to draw in pen and ink, in pen, how to draw the outline of a tree. Let me do that again for you. Let's go over here. I'll just do one tree. All right. So again, I'm going generally from left to right here. You can go either way, left to right or right to left. Doesn't matter. And I'm trying to draw, randomness. Right? That's far enough. Now, this is key. I'm now going to draw going the opposite direction. Doing, again, irregular marks. Now, I'm not done yet. This is just one way to draw trees. I'm going to do little outliers, little bits of the foliage that have sort of visually escaped from the main body of the foliage. Little dots, leaves. That doesn't necessarily mean that the wind is blowing in there. No. In fact, I don't think there's any point in me showing you this because it's too far away, but I don't know if you can see the edge of those trees. There are little leaves that they are indeed on stems, sticking up out of the green foliage up into the blue sky. The stem is so skinny that you can't see it. All you can see is the leaf, so it has the effect of a floater. So that's what I'm indicating here, just a real simple way to draw with a pen. And I'm not done yet, but I'm going to get this part done here. Okay, so I went from left to right. Now I'm going to go turn around and go the other way, scribbling around my first line. In my opinion, if you want to try this, it's important that you go one way and then the other because your hand moves in a different manner. And then here's the outlier, leaves or debris, whatever it is, little bits and stuff, bugs if you want, I suppose. No, we couldn't see bugs. Okay, that's now one more step, and that is little sky holes inside. So essentially the same thing, little holes and dots inside the boundary. This is, of course, just works if you're drawing like a bank of trees, a solid bank. I'm not going to worry about differentiating. I mean, you can see like there's a tree, there's a tree, there's a tree, there's a tree, but I'm not going to try to make some close and some far, because that's not, they're a bank. They essentially all line up. Now there is down here, and this is very, very distinctive of this view. So for instance, if Bill, the owner of this house, if he sees this painting on Friday evening and wants to buy it, for instance, I'm being too mercenary now, but I want to do it realistically. You know, this great big hole here is characteristic of the view from his house. So I'm just literally drawing what I'm seeing there. Okay. Just a little bit of a fence down here. Oh, it's just a nice element that, you know, if it weren't there, would I have thought about putting one there? And the answer is, I doubt it. I doubt that I would have thought of it. But it turns out, whoa, that's a really nice little, you know, nice little element in the drawing there. Okay, hang on a minute. Let me get see if I can get my monitor. Whoa, my battery's at 5%. Doggone it. On my iPad, that is. So my iPad's going to die shortly, and I won't be able to see your chat. So let's look at them real quick. Hello. Hello, hello. Okay, I'm online. Maybe the signal here is so weak. Looks like it. All right, sorry. Oh, my battery's at 3%. I'm sorry. I thought that battery was charged up. There you go. So I will not be able to see your chats for this broadcast. I'm so sorry. Leave your chats, and I'll come back and look at them later. All right, a great part of the charm of this particular view, let me show it to you again, is the rows of, it looks like cattails. They're the light green, and then sea oats in the foreground, and who knows what. I don't know what all the names of those are. Those are two names I think two plants I do recognize. But, hang on, let's get you turned the right way. And pointing up a little bit more. I'm working on it. Okay, whoops. Hang on. Quite the trick here. And, well, I'll just put it this way. Whichever battery runs out first here today, that's when the broadcast ends. Okay? See, now really, I really wish, and I'm a little dismayed, I'm supposed to have, I remember now that I pulled my fountain pens out of this kit for a job at home not too many weeks ago, and failed to put them back, which is unfortunate, because I'd rather be doing this with a bolder stroke. These lines are, anyway, there we go. That's just me complaining, okay? Habitually complaining. I hope my mom doesn't listen to this broadcast. All right. Maybe my watercolor pencil's done. I might do some more pen work later. Let me get on my brushes now. Time to move on to brushes. So this is my assortment of, this is my small travel watercolor kit. You can probably tell. All right. Put the pencils back in. And here's my smallest watercolor kit that I use on a normal basis. I have a smaller one attached. I have a couple smaller ones attached to smaller sketchbooks, but this is my smallest general purpose watercolor. Where am I going to put this? This bench that I'm sitting on is exceedingly small. I guess I'll just have to reach all the way down there to pick up my... All right. Once again, I'm rinsing my brush in a plastic bottle that comes with a nice lid. I like these wide mouth jars. plastic so that they're not in danger of breaking. Now I am going to try to kind of act like a real watercolorist here for just a minute while I do the sky. So as you can no doubt imagine, that when this, in this case, when this blue watercolor hits the colored pencil, it blossoms, it blooms. The watercolor pencil turns into watercolor paint, right? And so I don't have complete control over what that does. And you understand that's a good thing. Let nature run its course. Whoops. Oh my goodness. I just spilled the water, knocked over my camera. Fortunately, it was clean water. And I think I need to, yeah, I do. Oh, wait. Oh, good. I have a backup water bottle. Oh, and I've got a wet seat. I got wet underwear. I'm really not worried about that. I'm just so relieved that the water, I'd only used it once. So it was, all right, let's pay some attention to my painting here. I'll change my clothes when I get back. All right, let's do this. Get a little water flowing. And then catch these drips. I think if I catch them with a tissue, toilet paper in this case, as you can see, toilet paper is great for, for a travel watercolor kit because it's compact, comes in a roll, so you don't have to deal with a box. All right, let's see how that looks. Ooh, that looks nice. Let's do a little bit more right here. Don't you just love watercolor? The fluid dynamics, that's what it's all about. And watercolor is water. It's about the flow, the natural flow of stuff. All right, so I'm probably going to leave that inner boundary frame just the way it is. Not even going to worry about it or mess with it. It's just a visual element, abstract element. All right. I've got one piece of debris right there that I don't like, but I think if I try to pick it up now, it'll just make a mess. So I'm going to leave it, that little spot, wait till it dries, and then pick it off, and it'll probably leave minimal mark at that point. But you can see here, I hope you can see how the purple, right along the edge, how it bleeds, and the orange, right? And I think that's just charming. And all around the lighthouse, it's doing the same thing. Okay, move you guys again. I'm glad you were here for that little bit of excitement. It's nothing like a little dose of reality in a broadcast, right? Oh boy. Like I said, I'm just so relieved that was clean water, so I'm not leaving a stain all over this nice man's porch. Hey, let me show you a trick that I'm doing. I don't know if anybody else that does this, but I employ this quite a bit. So I have these arranged in rainbow color wheel order. Purple, magenta, cool red, warm yellow, middle yellow, cool yellow, bluish green, and then getting more and more blue, so on and so on and so forth. And then the color wheel stops right with ultramarine. And I do this with all my colors. Then I have browns. Yellow ochre is a brown, then some kind of oxide red, and then browns get darker and darker and darker. And this is black. And if I want a yellowish color on my brush, and you can see I'm using a brush this big. So look, it fits in 3 different colors all at the same time. That's a trick I use a lot, so that I'm getting a range of colors. So I don't just have one color on my brush right now. And that to me is a distinct advantage. Now I'm going to carefully, what was the first, I think what I bumped first was the camera. So I've got a little, you guys are sitting on, by the way, you're liable to disappear at any moment, because I think this battery in my Mevo only lasts about 15 minutes, and we're close to that already, I'm afraid. So whatever disappears first, that's the end of the broadcast. I almost never do, a broadcast without battery pack, but I am today, so we'll just find out. It's way too green, isn't it? Don't panic. Just redip your brush in some brown, and of course I want my wet green to blossom, mushroom into my wet yellow, of course, right? It's those blossoms, that mushrooming effect is, half the charm, maybe more than half the charm of watercolor. It's all the accidents that happen, the fluid dynamics, the things that you didn't exactly plan. That's what makes watercolor so fun. The happy little accidents. That is far and away, by the way, Bob Ross's best quote from an artistic point of view. Happy little accidents. That's a good description. In my opinion, that's a really good description of good art process. And unless, of course, unless you're doing hyper-realistic stuff, then accidents are not happy. All right. Dang, I'm just about going to finish this. I won't really finish it, but I'll get pretty close. You guys will be able to see. Okay, some of you should be taking notes. Some of you, now I am going to use a smaller brush in a minute, but I have a hunch that for most of you, you're saying, doggone it, he's going to do this entire painting with a 2-inch brush. I mean, it's a 6 by 7 by 9-inch painting, I would guess. And I'm doing almost the entire thing with a 2-inch brush. And most of you should be saying, doggone it, I would not have used a 2-inch brush. And I would say, and there's your problem. Being the smartass that I am, I'd say, there you go. There you go. All right, now having said that, of course, I mean, it has a lot to do with it, as you can see, it has a lot to do with the subject matter, right? So now I'm going to a considerably smaller brush. I probably use, and for some reason, when I do watercolors, I strongly prefer flats. Very strange. I don't know. I mean, I've seen other watercolors who I respect highly have the same penchant, if you will, for flat brushes. Whoops, that's too dark. Hang on. Don't panic. Just reach for your tissue. You have about, 20, 30 seconds. Let's add some water to that brush. It's just a habit that I have. I just prefer flats. I know a lot of good watercolorists who use rounds a great deal. Sometimes I do, but nah. I'm pretty addicted to the watercolor flats. Like I said, I feel kind of weird about that, except I have seen some really good watercolor painters that have the same habit that I do. One thing's for sure, I will tell you, if you ever need to do skinny lines in a water, do not use a point round skinny brush and go like this. Use a flat brush and use the edge of the flat brush. I'm inclined to call that a mistake. a mistake of technique. It's like, no, 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 no. Don't be painting straight lines, skinny lines I'm talking about, by using a round brush and making a line with the brush. That, you just missed the day in class when they told you not to do that. Do it like I just, this is still damp up here, so I'm getting a little bit of bleed. So let's mix up. I'm quite a mess maker with my watercolor tray. I'm not very friendly to my colors get all mixed up like a little kid, If it ever becomes a problem, you just pick up your spray bottle and spray the little watercolor tray. Don't like that color very much. Oh, don't like that color either. Hang on. Too red, too green, too red, too green. This is not a good flat brush. I mean, it's a good quality, but see, that is not a nice edge. I'm going to try to use it anyway. Let's see if this is too small. But what I'm trying to do the very thing I just described, which is there you go. How do you create, because I want to indicate grass down here. You do not, and I repeat, you don't take a brush like this, stick out your tongue and go like this. Oh, horrid, horrible. Somebody out there needed to hear that. I hope it was somebody who's watching or will watch later. You want to make skinny lines, you do it with a flat brush, not with a round, skinny brush. I am indeed almost certainly going to use whiteout again on this little sketch, although I won't need to use nearly as much as I did say on the last sketch I did this morning. The other sketch that was very busy and had a lot of information. I also, just for what it's worth, when I'm doing watercolor, I habitually I have a tissue permanently affixed to my left hand. That's just the way I am. These habits are either good or bad, I'm not sure, but one thing's for sure, they are very deeply ingrained. I don't believe that's a habit I'm going to drop. I was a watercolor major in college. I was an art major, and my focus was in watercolor. And if it came down to how many years, like most of you, well, many of you, at least you know me as an oil painter now, because that's what I've done for the last 16 years. But I didn't actually start doing oil painting until I was in my late 40s. And didn't really get serious about it till right about age 50. And for decades before that, when I was a freelance illustrator, watercolor was one of my primary mediums. Media for you English majors. I'm not sure that rule works in the art world. I know the plural of medium is media, and mixed media, we use that properly. But it just seems strange to me to say, I work in several media. Do you mean like television and radio? No, like watercolor and oil. Anyway, so I usually abuse the language and call it mediums. I work in several mediums. That's just partly just to be ornery and drive all you English majors crazy. mentioned before, I grew up in a household, and boy, believe me, I'm very thankful. I grew up in a household that spoke the King's English better than the King himself, if you catch my drift. And honestly, I wish every kid did. It's such an advantage, such an advantage in life. You begin the habit of words and vocabulary and so on. And when I was a kid and we were taking all these grammar tests, answer which one of these is correct. They were always easy peasy for me because my ear told me which one was correct because I was accustomed to proper usage. So anyway, there you go. I'm counting my blessings, and if you're a parent of young children, I would say, yeah, start using proper grammar for their sake. And the real word, you English majors, I know, is proper usage, not proper grammar. Blah, blah, blah. Sometimes I know more than I wish I did. Oh, boy. Well, look at you. You're just about going to see me finish an entire watercolor sketch, almost, before the battery dies. As I said, when the battery dies, gang, we're done with this broadcast. Okay, so let me bid you all a fond adieu, because I won't have time to do it after it goes blink. Thank you for your company, and I'm sorry I'm missing your chats. I promise you, if you leave a chat, I will go back and peruse the chats later, after I go back and get all my batteries charged up. Beautiful day here. Oh my goodness, we hit the weather jackpot like crazy. 70, 72, 3 degrees out here. Just beautiful. Now, where is the dark in the core of the shadow? Frankly, there is no core shadow. You know what I'm talking about? If you study, drawing, you can learn about a core shadow. But you have to watch out for that stuff because it always just gives you the general. Here's the normal. But all I have to do is look with my eyes up at that lighthouse. Normally the core shadow would be right about here, right? Because over here would be reflected light, normally. But that is not the case here today. That's not the case at all. I don't see any indication. In fact, I'm not going to even paint it realistically. But, well, I guess I have achieved it, but it actually gets darker closest to the edge. And I've got that because of the watercolor pencil blossom bloom there. Blossom, bloom, mushroom. Any of those words will work. All right, you're still with me. Our batteries are hanging in there, at least at the moment. So let's go to the other element, which is my. Now I don't need to do this. You understand? I could call it quits. I could call it done, and say that's all I'm going to do. But no, I am going to do. So this is not an art supply tool. This is an office supply tool. And as I already mentioned earlier, sometimes I do this, by the way, as a more traditional watercolors. Sometimes I do these opaque highlights with gouache, white gouache. And again, that's very, very traditional. Even Alvaro Castanet, my favorite watercolorist in the world is Alvaro Castanet. It looks like it might be Castanet, but I don't know. He's Hispanic. Anyway, he's from Uruguay. Did you like Uruguay? for us Yanks. Uruguay. Uruguay. I still can't do it. Uruguay. Anyway, Alvaro, look him up. My goodness. You'll see why he's somebody's favorite anyway. And he's certainly mine. And he uses whiteout. He uses white gouache. He uses opaque white, which is like, cheater watercolor. So I don't know how you can be the best watercolorist in the world and cheat, in my opinion. So I think his paintings, as I understand it, would not be accepted into, say, Watercolor Society of America show because he uses opaque medium. I believe those are the rules. You can't use an opaque medium. And yet, as I said, in my opinion, the best guy in the world does. So there you go. See? So but I very much consider what I'm doing right now, I very much consider it cheating. But it's an okay cheat because it looks good. Do you understand? So I'm not hanging my head in shame whatsoever. I'm trying to create a beautiful, quick little watercolor sketch. A little bit of sky holes. I am I am 99% finished with this little sketch. So now here's a trick that I might do again. I did in my last sketch. This white along the top of this grass. If I decide it's too white, then I'll pick up my little bar of soap, get my brush soapy, and then dip it in yellow watercolor and do a wash on top of this. If I didn't use the soap, the watercolor paint would not stick. Does that make sense? Some of you might be, as I am, wondering about the archival quality of that. That's a good question. I think it's probably, of course, as long as it doesn't get water on it. Dear buyer, if your painting starts sudsing, sorry. It would probably be a good idea to varnish, hit it this with a there's some bare white tree branches over here that I like very much. I want to try to indicate that. A spray fixative, a workable fixative would be a good idea. I don't have that with me here on this trip, so I'm not going to worry about it. If somebody buys this painting for what, $75, I'll say, let the buyer beware. No, there's no soap on this one, so we're quite safe. Oh, yes, indeed. I don't do this very often. Honestly, I don't. A couple birds, a couple white seagulls or doves up here in the sky. They're flying more like doves, actually, and that's fine with me. Let's do a third one. That's a cliche, isn't it? Yes, it is a cliche. So you handle those cliches, in my opinion, carefully. You don't do it very often, but once in a while it's okay. Oh, wait. I want to do, there are mullions in these windows here, and I want to do those. There we go. bars in the windows, if you will. There are actually no windows on this side of the lighthouse. I hope that doesn't drive somebody crazy, keep them from buying the painting, because wait, there's no windows there. It just makes it look, that's what the windows look like on the other side. It makes it look so much better. Oh, while I'm at it, okay, let me tell you a couple tricks for disguising, if you will, or diminishing the visual incongruity, if you will, of using that white marker pen. You know, it stands out, as you can see. It's rather stark. It doesn't look exactly like watercolor, and again, I'm okay with that. I think it looks kind of cool. But if you want to push it back, two tricks. One is draw, like I just did around those birds. Do you see? Draw around the white marks, or on top of them, like I'm doing here in this open area of the trees. And that disguises, if you will, disguises the fact that I used whiteout pen. Again, I really think it looks fine just as is, but I also like it maybe even better after I've drawn lines around it. So I did that here around these trees, in here around the birds, up here. And then the final thing you can do, of course, is what I mentioned earlier, is do a wash on top of that whiteout. And that completely, it doesn't look anything like, you know, correction pen if you do that. So what I'm doing right now, I do often, which is after the watercolor part of the painting is done, I come back and do more pen. Sometimes I'll do cross-hatching. I don't think I'm going to in this particular painting, but like here on the side of this shed, or on the side of the lighthouse, it'd be very appropriate to do some real fine cross-hatching. But again, I'm not going to do that on this one because I think it's working very well without it. So why gunk it up with elements that are not necessary? There. And I'm going to sign it down here. My name is Dan Nelson. I do know how to spell my name. And I think I'm going to put over here Ocracoke Light. That's what it's called sometimes. Not Lighthouse, just called the Ocracoke Light. And I'm going to put down 2020. Da, 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 da. Well, there you go, gang. We got all the way through an entire sketch. And then I think that I'm very happy with that. You can see here in the trees the magenta colored pencil that I used in the very beginning, mixing in with the green. Same thing down here, just a lovely effect. Also the orange, a lot of orange glow around this tree. So that's, you feel free to steal my technique and practice with it. See if you like it. I don't know anybody else that does exactly what I do. Just that it's never kept me, you know, I guess I'm a independent thinker or something. I'm always inventing new ways to do stuff. That's just the way I am. Anyway, thanks you guys for watching. Call it a day. Call it a broadcast. Love ya. Bye.